I'm still stunned by what went down in the NFL wildcard round, but we've got to move forward here and preview the division round. And in this video, we will break down both NFC games as the 49ers visit the Seattle Seahawks and the Chicago Bears host the LA Rams. Ninja here with Nick Holz. Welcome to OddsShark. Hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe button. Let us know who you think is winning the NFC, because right now, Seattle plus 115, the Rams plus 155, Chicago plus 700, the Niners plus 900. Feels more wide open than that, but drop your pick in the comment section below. Nick, let's talk Niners Seahawks here. Obviously, familiar foes. The regular season bookended by their two matchups. Niners won in week 1, Seahawks won in week 18. Niners only had 20 combined points in the two games, and surely, Nick, the week 18 game is more indicative of maybe what we can expect here, especially with that 7.5 point spread. It does have to be said that there was no Trent Williams in that week 18 game either for the Niners. But is the week 18 the true test of what we can expect, or is that tossed out the window here?
Yeah, I would think so. And I would think it's a game where the 49ers that are so undermanned on both sides of the football, they want to limit the time of possession for the Seahawks explosive offense. They want to hopefully win this game in the trenches, and they want to hold the football for as long as possible. So that to me kind of points towards the under, and a likely that game that's very indicative of what we saw in week 18 with, hopefully a little bit more success from the 49ers offense.
Yeah, they're going to have to, and total 45.5 as we sit here right now. Keep your eyes out there at home. Keep your eyes on the injury report. There's an outside chance that Fred Warner and Ricky Pearsall might be available for this. I highly doubt it, but there are some rumblings, so just keep an eye on that. Christian McCaffrey, though, had some big-time plays in that win over the Eagles, Nick, in that wildcard round, but has struggled carrying the football in the last two games. 3.2 yards per carry versus Philly, 2.3 versus Seattle in week 18. Not the sexiest of bets, Nick, but would you consider McCaffrey under rushing yards in this one?
Yeah, I've got to be on the under here. I think he had 69 yards in week 1 against Seattle, just 23 in week 18. And his average just about 3 yards per carry against the Seahawks, amazing front seven this year. I do like McCaffrey's receptions prop, though. He had 9 against Seattle in week 1. 6 last week, and 6 against the Seahawks in week 18 as well. So I think with the Seahawks pass rush forcing the ball out of Brock Purdy's hands quickly, he dumps it down to McCaffrey, and you hope for the best there if you're a Niners fan.
Also hoping for the best as a Niners fan. George Kittle, Achilles tear here against the Eagles. Thoughts on Jake Tonges as a player and in prop markets, because this San Fran team, Nick, we just watched Demarcus Robinson from nowhere have a massive game. So do you think like a Tonges can step up in that, quote, next man up role? Or is it going to be more Robinson and Kyle Juszczyk? And do any props involving those names interest you here?
Yeah, I like Tonges a lot, but so will the market here, so be careful there. In his last 6 games without Kittle this season, though, 4.8 receptions per game, 44 yards, and he scored 3 touchdowns. So you've got to like those numbers. I also really like Juszczyk here. He had 4 catches for 49 yards against the Eagles, and I think he'll be a big part of the game plan. Another underrated receiver to keep an eye on is Kendrick Bourne for the 49ers, who did step up when they had some injuries earlier on this season.
Let's talk quarterbacks here. And in the week 18 game, Sam Darnold didn't turn the ball over, and he has 0 interceptions in 2 games versus the Niners in the regular season. What are you expecting from him? And can you maybe predict anything from the Seahawks offense, given, they have the extended rest and what they probably saw from this Niners defense in that wild card game?
Clint Kubiak probably licking his chops watching that Niners defense in the wild card game, to be honest. We've seen Sam Darnold doesn't really need to be spectacular for the Seahawks team to win football games. So I think we see some more of the same here, much like week 18, where Seattle just leaned on their rushing attack. They're going to hit them with K9, Kenneth Walker, and Charbonnet, and likely attack that the middle of the field against the 49ers linebackers, who are basically the carcass of Eric Kendricks and a couple of third stringers, practice squad players out there. Philadelphia really failed to take advantage of that, but especially in the Kubiak, Shanahan outside zone system, they love to put linebackers in conflict, and we're going to see a ton of that against Seattle here. So I think really Darnold just needs to play turnover-free football, and the Seahawks have a great chance of winning this one.
He only had the one turnover in 2 games versus the Niners, which was a fumble. So, like I said, no picks. Brock Purdy, on the other hand, his career in Seattle, Nick, 4-0, 104.9 passer rating, 8 TDs, 3 picks, around 239 yards per game. Given a choice, which quarterback do you trust more here? Because for as good as Sam Darnold has certainly been this season, we all know what happened the last time he was in the playoffs, Nick.
Yeah, I really just think it comes down to which quarterback has the better weapons heading into this one. If Brock Purdy had George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, Ricky Pearsall like he's had in the past, then maybe this is a different conversation. But I think Sam Darnold with Jackson Smith and Jigba against an undermanned 49ers defense, I've got to trust the Seahawks offense and Darnold more. And I don't think the San Francisco 49ers, especially without those weapons, match up very well against the Seahawks defense. I think the Mike McDonald defensive scheme is really one that's going to take over the NFL, and I think they're going to put on a show here on Saturday.
And it's at or near the top DVOA wise across the board. It's just as good as it gets in the NFL here this season. Certainly tons of betting opportunities here, tons of players on both teams for prop markets. As we sit here today, Seahawks 7 or 7.5, depending on your book. Total is 45.5. Seahawks minus 360 on the money line. The Niners coming back at plus 285. Niners, certainly punched above their weight against the Eagles in the wild card round. The Seahawks have the rest here. What's your bet for this one here, Nick?
I like the Seahawks at home, where they're just dominant at Lumen Field, going 12-3 straight up in their last 15 home playoff games. They're also on a 7-0 straight up and 4-2-1 against the spread run as favorites of 4 or more at home in the post. So I've got to roll with the Seahawks money line, and I'll also be using them in a couple of teasers this week, likely with the Broncos.
Folks, bet smarter throughout the NFL playoffs with Prop Professor, because right now you can get it for 25% off for the first month. Get hundreds of plus EV bets every day and get a real shot at finding long-term profit. NFL, NBA, the NHL, plenty more leagues, all covered here. There's a great arbitrage tool, fantasy optimizer, and tons more under the hood. Easily the best bang for buck on the market. So use the promo code OddsSharkPP at checkout and get 25% off for that first month. Okay, let's talk about the Sunday game here as the Chicago Bears, fresh off that miracle comeback against the Packers, hosting the LA Rams, who come in off a really bizarre come-from-behind win at Carolina. And Nick, unpack that Rams win over the Panthers. That wasn't really a great performance by Stafford and the Rams, and I don't think we should gloss over it because of the drive to win the game. But how concerning was that Rams performance if you're a Rams fan or if you're holding a Rams futures ticket right now?
Yeah, it definitely turned into an ugly win. What appeared like it in the first half was going to be, the Rams rolling and just scoring points at will. But in the second half, it was definitely concerning to see the Panthers, the ease with which they moved the football down the field, the ease with which they punched in the football into the end zone to score in the red zone as well. And of course, just how open Jalen Coker and Ted McMillan were getting down the field. Offensively, I think Stafford's finger injury is a major concern. The game almost turned on its head once that had happened. He just started missing receivers all over the place, couldn't really grip the football as well, it seemed like, and then that was the result. But big players make big plays in big games, and, down the stretch, Stafford, Puka Nacua, and Devontae Adams just too much, so we'll see if they can repeat that this week.
Let's just look at the last month, 5 weeks or so for both of these teams. And let me just ask you straight up, who is the better quarterback right now? Caleb Williams or Matty Stafford?
Yeah, I've got to go with Stafford still. He's thrown a few bad interceptions down the stretch, had a couple of bad picks last week, but I still have to go with Stafford, a guy who's, been playing in playoff games for, almost 2 decades now, who's one of the most experienced quarterbacks in the NFL and who is still playing at the height of his powers, is likely the NFL MVP this year. We've got Caleb Williams, who is a career almost 50% passer, and to me, as long as Stafford's healthy, it's got to be Matthew Stafford.
It's a very interesting matchup, especially from a live betting perspective. This one here, Nick. We have a team that starts quick and struggles to finish in the Rams, and a team that starts slow and then finishes with a flurry in the Chicago Bears. So, thoughts on live betting potential for this one, especially with the Bears coming off that fourth quarter miracle?
Yeah, I mean, I can't take anything away from Caleb Williams and the Bears' second half performances. Williams in his career now, over the past 2 seasons, is second in second half against the spread. He's 24-11, just behind Josh Allen. And the Bears have covered 8 straight second half spreads heading into this game. So if you like Chicago to come back and win this game, I think the Bears' second half is a great play.
How much of a factor is potentially a cold Chicago in January going to be for Matthew Stafford and this Rams team?
Yeah, the Rams are a dome team, so rain and snow could actually be a huge factor. You tend to think Stafford's played a lot of outdoor games, but he spent most of his career in Detroit in a dome as well. And under Sean McVay, the Rams have lost outdoor playoff games in Green Bay and in Philadelphia in the past, and then obviously didn't have a very convincing performance at Carolina last week. So the weather, especially if it's raining or snowing or windy, will definitely need to be factored into your bets.
So let me ask you this. If it does come down to the weather and the weather does become a factor and the game comes down to, let's say, the running game, whose backfield are you trusting more here?
Yeah, I think it ultimately comes down to which play caller you trust more. And well, we've seen Ben Johnson adjust so well in the second half of games this season. I've got to go with the proven pedigree of Sean McVay and the Rams backs here. Kyron Williams had like 90 yards in, I believe, 12 or 13 games this season. And we saw how Blake Corum's come on down the stretch as well. And I just think Sean McVay's ability to adjust to what the defense is stopping as well will go a long way. The Rams are so multiple on offense too. They have a number of different ways they can beat you. They're playing a lot of this 13 personnel with 3 tight ends. There's so many different weapons and so many different ways they can beat you down the field. I've just got to lean on the guy who's been there and done it before, and that's Sean McVay. And I'm going with Kyron Williams and Blake Corum in that one.
And I believe I saw a stat that this will be McVay's 15th playoff game, and all 15 will have come against different teams, which is just a weird stat. But anyway, let's get into your pick here. The Bears, 3.5-point home underdogs here. The total sky high here, 51.5. Defense might be optional. Who knows? The Rams minus 192 on the money line. The Bears plus 160. We talked about some names here. There's tons of star power. We talked about guys like Blake Corum, like Loveland, like Luther Burden, who have come on real hot here down the stretch in the regular season and going into that wild card round. So tons of player prop potential in this one, both QBs, of course, as well. Plenty of options here, Nick, but what's your play?
I love the over here. I mean, it's a juice 51.5, but these two teams rank second and third in second half scoring this season. So if it is a close game down the stretch, expect them to go back and forth in the fourth quarter. And we've got two defense who have struggled as well. Over the last few weeks, both of them ranking in the bottom third of teams in EPA per play and drop back success rate allowed. And similar to last week, we have two quarterbacks capable of making game-changing plays and two of the best play callers in the NFL going head to head. So I think there's going to be a lot of points here on Sunday.